The following live broadcast is rated ESV 16. Parental guidance suggested for viewers under the age of 16 years old. Hello, everybody. Coming up on tonight's show, we're going to be talking with people who often have a feeling of loneliness and isolation, who have lost a lot of people, who just don't have anybody around. And we're going to talk to the people who experience this every day and how they get through life and how they handle everything. So please feel free to join us here on Ear Shoulder Voice. You guys ready?
Yep.
All right. What I like to hear. Let's do this. You know, it's often through no fault of our own that we go through a period in life where we just feel like nobody's around and we're isolated. There's never been anybody there for us, and we don't know why we continue on. Where are we going to go? What's going to change? What's going to happen for our future? But the thing is, it happens to everybody. Some people last longer than others. Some people, it doesn't last quite as long. But you can get through it, and you can still be happy, and you can regenerate things you think you've lost forever. Sure, certain aspects are not going to come back to you, but others will. Other new things, more experiences, and more things to enjoy in life. Hi, I'm Keith Littman for Ear Shoulder Voice. Welcome to our show tonight. Today's topic, of course, is the art of being alone when friends and family have gone, whether it's from natural causes, whether it's just because you may have moved away. No matter the reason, but it's really hard to adjust being alone. But life goes on, and that's what we're going to prove tonight. Don't forget, while you're here, to like, share, subscribe, and follow to Ear Shoulder Voice on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We're on all of that. And you can chat live right during the show. We'll respond to everything you say. So if you have any questions, feel free to shout them out to us. And you can also, if you choose to, call into the show at earshouldervoice.com, and you can join us right here on the panel. But then again, why have a panel? Why? Because we need people to talk to. So let's introduce them right now. All right, our first panelist tonight is welcome back to our lovely Teresa. We're glad to have you, Teresa. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's good to be here, too. How's your week been going? We last saw you last week on your first show. We loved having you on there. I'm glad you're back for another one.
I'm non-COVID quarantining for a week, so I'm coming up the walls a little bit.
I can understand that. Why are you non-COVID quarantining?
Thomas has it. My son tested positive, so I have to quarantine until he tests negative so I can go back to work.
I got you. Well, that's actually a smart move. That's actually a very smart move that you're doing that right now. So what else has been going on? I mean, how are you occupying the time?
I don't know, a lot of different things. If it's nice, I try to get outside in the fresh air, sunshine. When we have that, I heard it's supposed to snow tonight, so
it's supposed to go down to like 23 degrees.
I know, what the heck.
Welcome to Michigan.
Gross.
I mean, we're up here in Michigan. We're not as lucky as our next panelist, who's in South Carolina right now. Please welcome Angela. How you doing?
North Carolina, Keith.
I keep saying that. I told you I was supposed to go to South Carolina this weekend, and the plans got changed. So that's been stuck in my head. And even when I was on the chat that one time, I'm like, was it north, south? I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, well, still, North Carolina is a hell of a lot nicer than Michigan right now, I'm sure.
It was 87 degrees today.
Well, fuck you.
Right.
It's supposed to be 52 tomorrow.
Okay, well, what's it supposed to be tomorrow, you said?
52.
Oh, you poor thing, you.
No,
we're supposed to get snow tonight.
Yeah, for the next 2 nights.
I do not miss that.
I was about to open my pool, and thank God I didn't. So, Angela, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good.
Well, we're glad you're on here as well. As you know, the topic is the art of being alone. You should be, because we're awesome. And you are, too. So, I know you've been through a lot of things in life. Have you ever experienced that isolation, that just feeling that nobody was around?
Oh my God, so much. Yeah. I mean, I moved from Michigan to North Carolina almost 7 years ago.
It's been that long already.
It has. And when I moved here, it was only my ex mother-in-law and her husband that I knew here. So
Was that weird moving to like, or the only people you knew was your ex's mother-in-law?
yes, yes, it was
Or
scary.
technically your
My
ex mother-in-law.
ex-mother-in-law.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
yeah. It
Well,
was
I
scary.
hope well, I hope things are going good down there with you though. I'm glad. I hope they are
Yeah,
providing the kind of company
yeah,
you like.
yeah.
As long as you don't see the ex, right?
Well, I can't really help that. It's a small town.
You can come over if you tie him up in the backyard. All
Right.
right, we're going to bring our final panelist on tonight. He is definitely no stranger to loneliness and isolation. He's been through a lot. You've seen him on the show before. Please welcome back Bill. How you doing? Bill, how you
Oh,
doing?
I was fine till you told me you were going to get snow. Told me you're going to get snow. Now I'm bummed out.
I know, I know.
But I'm doing okay. I'm keeping
That's good.
busy, you know.
That's good. So, Bill, we've heard you on this show a lot, and we constantly have found out that you are definitely no stranger to loneliness. Is that correct?
Yes. After COVID hit, I couldn't go to my meetings, so I couldn't talk to anybody. And I mean, even before that, you know, I had friends that are no longer with us. And, you know, and I outlived my family. I outlived my parents. I outlived all my brothers. So I was the last pea in the pod, except for nieces and nephews. That's it, you know, and cousins in Canada. But I have a majority of my time, except for being with my wife and daughter, I was alone. Even at that time, there are times I still felt alone. You know, sometimes it's hard to reach out to people.
It really is. People often think that to be lonely, you have to have absolutely nobody else around. And that's not true because being lonely doesn't necessarily mean there's no one else around. It means there's no one else invested into your life. There's no one else that seems to care. I'm around hundreds and hundreds of people a week and different people that all apparently love me and think I'm amazing, which is great. But I still feel so alone. And similar to what you said, Bill, I have outlived most all my family. I have a brother left. And other than that, it's just relatives I don't know in like Oklahoma and Alabama. I do have an aunt and uncle that I love dearly in Alabama, but I don't get to see them as often. So I get that feeling as well. How do you cope with that, Bill? Because you seem to still be living life and trotting on.
Well, one of the things is I try to keep myself busy. You know, you don't. Now, some people they slump into a depression and they don't do anything, and it just gets deeper and deeper. And I try to, if I spot myself going and getting that way, getting into that, I get out there and do something. I don't care. Take a walk, you know, walk the dog, paint the house, whatever. You know, I try to keep myself busy. Call a friend. I talk to people on Facebook. I got involved in a group that was called Berkeley Musicians Jam. I met other musicians, and we would get together and play music. You know, and we didn't know each other, you know, but it's called reaching out. You know, sometimes you have to do it. Some people have a hard time doing that. I did.
I have to retract what I just said a little bit, though, when I just said about my aunt and uncle. Because the aunt and uncle I have in Alabama has a daughter that actually lives here as well. And her name is Teresa, and she's like right next to me. So I do have a cousin that's still here, too. I haven't talked to Teresa in a long time. We just started talking more this year, actually. I think it was late 2019. We started talking more, and it's been really good to have her around too and get to talk with her. But Teresa, when I met you, or re-met you, I should say, like really started talking to you after so many years, you were going through a lot of struggle as well. Can you tell me about that?
Well, I went through a divorce a few years ago, which was devastating, honestly, because I was in a situation where I didn't feel like I could, I really questioned if I could even make it on my own. And then visitation where my kids weren't there, so like they're my whole world, and then they're gone too. So I spent a little bit of time like kind of wallowing in that a little, I guess, and just being like, oh my God, I'm all by myself and blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure that a lot of people, when they feel alone, they kind of get in that mindset. And then I realized like how much time I wasted like just thinking about all the negative things. So I started.
Disconnecting on us as quick as you possibly could. That's what happened. We lost her for a second. I'm sure she'll be right back with us. I'm going to go to you for a minute, Angela. Actually, before I even go to you, Jan's got a comment. Jan says, I and her kids lost a dear friend 14 years ago. We called her Grandma Betty because that is what she was to us. We miss her dearly. Still talk to her in our hearts and in our minds, sometimes scolding, but in a good way. And the loss can often be what makes people feel alone. And sometimes losing one person, if it was the most important person in your life, can make you feel more alone than anything, Jan. And it sounds like this Betty, your Grandma Betty, this Grandma Betty, however you want to call her, meant a lot to you. And when you lose that aspect, your life was around him. I still had family when my mom passed away, and Angela was actually in the room when I got this news. She lived with me at the time. And I felt, though I had my friend right next to me and I still had my grandmother and my brother and all that, I felt like my whole world was gone. That I was alone in the world because everything was about my mom. I loved her dearly. I mean, everybody
Yes,
I think
you did.
knows that. Or Teresa's aunt. I was like, actually, as it was. Okay, Teresa, go ahead. You were saying?
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's
So,
okay.
I started. One of the things I did to, I guess, cope with loneliness is started to make the time when I was by myself, like I tried to turn it down to something positive. So I would go to the movies and watch a movie that only I wanted to see, that my kids didn't care about. Or I would buy food to cook for myself, or I'd go to a restaurant that my kids wouldn't eat normally. And I tried to give myself, or I'd plan something like an outing with a friend or something like that, something to turn it around and make it something to look forward to. So that was really helpful. I still tend, I guess, to kind of isolate a little bit, but I think sometimes that's okay as long as we don't get stuck isolated.
A quick question, anybody who's out on the chat, totally unrelated. I'm getting some complaints. There's no sound on the video on Facebook. So if anybody else has anything like that, let me know because I want to look into that. Some people are obviously hearing because Jan's talking, so some people are still getting into it. But let me know if anybody else here is having a problem with no sound. Of course, if I say that, you're not hearing me, so what's the point in saying that? Okay, never mind. That was the stupidest moment I've had in a long time. All right. All right, even I can be stupid. One of the things you were talking about, well, then again, we still got people watching, so it might just be him. You mentioned cooking for yourself and going to the movies, and movies was one of my big breaks. Like, I used the movies because I could see something. Debbie has no sound on Facebook as well. I gotta find out what's going on and why it's muted on there. Okay, so, but you can't. During pandemic, that changed. And it changed a lot. So the movies were gone. I said on one of our earlier shows of pandemic, what I missed the most was movie theaters because that was an escape that I could do for me when I wanted to or something like that. How did you get through that stuff? Mind you, please work with me a little bit because I'm going to jump on this Facebook thing at the same time you're talking, so go ahead. How did you work with that, Teresa?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I lived by myself at the start of the pandemic. So I knew for me, sorry, I lost an earbud. I knew for me that being in an apartment and not knowing what level of lockdown we would be on, I wasn't going to be able to do well with that. So I actually went to stay with my daughter and my grandson. And we did a lot of like walks, sitting in the yard. Again, for me, being outside is like really helpful. It helps me kind of center and like feel calm and peaceful. So I did a lot of like doing stuff outside, taking a book. I color sometimes or I draw. So that was helpful.
I gotcha.
Again,
Well,
still doing things I enjoyed, but obviously missing out on the movie part. But
there's more to do. Debbie, I'm sorry. You're right. I got to learn to read. You do have sound, so I guess it's just that one person. Everything looks good on that end. Sorry, I wanted to interrupt there because I want. Oh, it's working for everybody now. We're good. I'm sorry. I hate to
Yay.
like. I never plan on having to technically debug stuff. Another thing I want to add to Jan before we go back, because I still want to talk to you, Angela, on this. Her grandma Betty, she had an outpatient procedure done one time, and I took her. She could not go home and be by herself, and asked if she had somebody that would be there with her. She looked at me and said, "Yes, my daughter." That is just beautiful, actually, that she said
Aw.
that about you. And that's what gets you so close in that family setting. It makes you feel like the family's there again. Jan, I'm sure you've been through a bit too. But Angela, you moved down and you said it was really rough. How, when you just had your two ex in laws there, what kind of emotions kind of went through you? How did you feel? Did you want to move back? Did you feel it was a bad move? How did that happen?
At first I did. I was scared to death, but luckily, I got a job really quick at a truck stop down the street, which is just a gas station, really. And I got everybody in town came there, and they really welcomed me with open arms. I mean, I met people really quick, and I became like part of the town.
Well, that's good. You live in one of those small towns now.
Yeah, yeah, it is a pretty small town.
I've always
Um,
dreamt of that because I feel like it's hard to be lonely in a small town.
um, you know what? When I go to the store, and I still work there every other weekend. I do have another job, but I still work there every other weekend because everybody has embraced me so much. And people help each other out. They talk to each other. They take the time to get to know each other. And that's what I love about this place.
That's good.
But the problem is I see all these people and they're so happy to see me when I'm there. But when I go home, there's nobody here. And
It's
I had a really, really hard time dealing with that.
and that's where the change comes in. Change comes in. Teresa, you're muted. Oh, you're probably doing something right now. Uh, that's where the change comes in a lot of times. It's that you do see people around, but when you get home, it's the empty house that
Yeah.
can hurt
I
the
mean, I have my
most.
kids. Well, I have one kid now, but
But who do you turn to? You can't. The thing
right,
about kids is you can't necessarily go to your kids with your adult problems,
right,
so you can still
right.
have to deal with that. Bill, you live alone, correct?
Well, actually, I'm living with my daughter, but for the basic thing is she has her thing to do, and I have my thing to do. We talk, and get together once in a while. But she's got her world, and I kind of got my world. She likes to play video games and stuff, and
I respect that.
she likes her space. So I try to give it to her, but we don't stay strangers or anything like that.
Well,
Uh,
that's good.
but it's a compromise because sometimes I do tend to get in the way. So you just have to. It's things
Well,
you work
that's
out.
that is where the whole living with like your kids and stuff still can make you feel alone because you got to get away. Where do you go? Who do you go to? Who do you go see? Who can you just like talk about? Your kid said, fuck you, or your kid said something stupid like that. Who do you go to? You're alone, and it's those moments you realize there's nowhere to turn. There isn't. So, who has like family they see often? Teresa, most of your family, aside from your really amazing cousin, doesn't live here. So, but how was that? Did you feel abandoned by family when that happened at all, or did you just how did you get through that? Because that's another way that a lot of people feel lonely, and it's not that the family did abandon you. It's
Right.
just that you feel like it. You feel like they've left you. How did you get through that?
Um, well, still sometimes I have my middle child lives in Toledo with her girlfriend. So it's close, but like seems so far away. Especially with a new baby that is because of COVID and everything has been kind of a challenge. I don't know. I don't know that there's one foolproof way. Video chat, FaceTime helps. It's not being there, but sometimes at least you get a little bit of like face to face talking. Um, it definitely, I would say, has put some space there. And I think that when we get in the mindset of like thinking people have abandoned us, I know it feels that way, but I think that like I'm big on keep controlling what you think and like checking yourself when you have those negative thoughts of like, oh my gosh, everyone abandoned me. And it's like, no, they didn't. You know, like your kids are supposed to grow up and do their own thing and, you know, live on their own. And sometimes it's hard knowing that they're not close by, but at the same time, like I'm so happy because they're doing all the things that I would want them to do. So I try to like focus more on that part. I make them send me pictures of my grandbabies all the time. But yeah, honestly, video chat and Facebook or FaceTiming a lot helps. And then, like I said, just checking myself when I'm getting into that like negative mode of thinking of like, that's not true. Like, your kids love you and they're doing all the things. Like, if I would have said when my kids grow up, I want them to do, they're doing those things. So I can't
How
really,
often-
like, I have to put myself in check on that, I think.
How often does that thought process come into your head? Like you said,
Well,
when it does happen, I've got to put myself in the right mode. How often does that happen for you?
I would say less now than it used to. It used to be a pretty regular situation where like regularly I'd be like, "Oh, I'm alone, whereas everyone." Um
No,
but
I
I think
sympathize
that
so much with that.
I know. But I think that now the more like when you kind of get used to thinking about what you're thinking about, um to me I feel like it happens less often and I stay busy. I work a lot. I always have work to do, so that's always a distraction I can use. But yeah, I would say not as frequently as it used to. Maybe,
But I mean, you're kind of the proof that as you go along, you start to, when you first start feeling that, you constantly are overwhelmed with feelings of being alone. And you're
yeah,
constantly is hitting you. But when you start to look at what you do have, that eventually does take over those thoughts. And you will reflect more on the fact that you do have things in your life and you are doing things that you would want for your children, and your parents are doing what they would want for you as well.
right,
And it takes over. So you're right; those thoughts go less down. However, on that same token, there comes to something that Bill can, I'm sure, associate with, and I believe Angela can too. Actually, I think all of us really can, and that is, what if it wasn't a choice? That feeling of abandonment,
Oh,
and that's because they died.
yeah,
And when you lose somebody like that, that feeling of abandonment is totally different because you can reflect that they just did what they wanted to, but that doesn't exactly work in that situation. So I'm going to start with Angela because I know you've lost people that have made you feel that way. And
yeah.
what is probably the biggest one that you think sent you into that?
Oh my gosh. Mhm. It's very recent. Uh, in November, but I was dating a man. I met him and he was everything. He was everything that I've ever wanted. He embraced every part of me. Um, he put me into his group of friends and just showed me off and just like he was everything to me. And I guess toward the end, I mean, he was living here with me pretty much right away. And things started getting bad. Hold on one second. Things started getting bad and I ended up having to end things. And actually just back in November, and he decided that he needed to leave because he didn't want to see me anymore because I broke up with him. He said, if we're not going to be together, then I can't be here anymore. So he moved up to Baltimore and in December. And we still talked on the phone. And I swear eventually we would have gotten back together because the love was very strong. But they found him face down at the bottom of a set of stairs January.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, that was really hard. I went through, and all of his friends at the funeral and the day after, everybody was asking me how I was doing and everything. But within a week, none of them talked to me anymore. I
That's,
would reach out to them, and they wouldn't talk back or anything. They wouldn't respond to my messages or anything. And I felt so alone because My daughter moved an hour and a half away, and the younger one, she made some friends and she started spending more time with them. So I was constantly at home by myself. And I went through a really, really, really bad time for about 2 weeks. I threw away my bed. I went pretty crazy.
It's
And
you
then I
you
met a
lost a
man.
part.
I met another man and I said, okay, well, you know what? He's gone. Let me just try a different one. And he
I'm
ended up,
sure it wasn't exactly that thought process,
well, yeah, but
but
yeah, basically, I was just trying to fill that empty spot. I didn't want to be
that's
alone.
that can be a mistake, though. I think one of the,
It
I
was a
mean, I'm
huge
not saying it.
mistake.
Oh, it was.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He stole a lot of money from me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
The the thing we forget a lot of times, it's important to let people know you're alone. It's important to let people know you need them around.
hmm,
But there are many people out there that prey on those people,
yeah,
that look for the people in need like that, and they will take advantage of you.
hmm,
And you are so empty inside, you will do anything you can to fill that. I've been in
yeah,
my share of that as well, and I've constantly just looked for somebody to fill that gap somewhere. And I would say it's more often than not they just want to take advantage
yeah,
of
yeah.
the kindness and what they do. Bill, I want to go to you for a second. I'm very sorry to hear about your loss, definitely. But Bill, I wanted to go to you've how much family? You said you outlived most of your family, pretty much, correct?
Yeah, except for nieces and nephews, and I outlived a couple of my nephews so far. They died early. I didn't. I thought they would outlive me, but I was wrong. They had diabetes, and it took a toll on them both.
You
So
never
that was
really know
hard
who
on
you're
me.
gonna. I've said
Yeah.
before it was really hard. Like my grandmother who lost her mother because my mother died before her, and one of the hardest things to do is it's really bad for a parent to lose a child, no question. But it's also bad to outlive anybody younger than you. And I think, how do you feel about that happening, Bill?
Well, it hit me hard, really. I mean, because in my head, I felt that they were supposed to outlive me, and I didn't think life was being fair to them. I mean, I was kind of bitter about it, in certain aspects because I felt like, I did my thing,
Yeah.
and I paid my dues and what have you. I've done all the things that I'm probably going to do in life, and they still had a baby, you know, so the little girl's not going to know who her dad was, and
There's
that kind of
that.
hit me kind of hard.
It hits you really hard. Um, and you say how it is unfair and stuff. And I'm going to go to Teresa, and this is probably not going to be the easiest thing to talk to her about because we share this relative actually, and it would be both of our grandmothers actually, same grandmother. And I had my grandmother move in with me the moment my mom passed away, and I resented her. I didn't treat her as nice as I should have. I'm not saying I like treated her badly or anything, but I resented the fact that she outlived my mother. And that was probably the biggest mistake I ever made in life because when you lose, sometimes you expect when you're growing up that you're going to live a certain way. That eventually you're going to grow up, your grandmother's going to die, your mother's going to be there, eventually your mother will die, and then you'll die too. When that gets fucked with, you don't know what to do. And I had so much resent built in the back of her that I didn't even realize I had at that time. Um, Cole Orton here says sound like a form of survivor's guilt, similar to what soldiers experience when they come back from war. And that's, I think, with definitely what Bill was talking about. And I never took into account with my grandmother, who that was probably the same thing. It was survivor's guilt, how she felt about having lost her daughter. And I wasn't mean. I gave her the love, and I definitely was there till the day she passed away. I loved her to death, and she knew that. But we got to be really careful when we lose people, I guess, out of nature's order. Because it can make you really dislike even yourself for outliving them. And I think that's partly kind of, I think Bill probably experienced a little of that too, correct, Bill?
Yes, I did. I
Yeah.
didn't, like I say, I didn't think life was fair, to them.
And it isn't.
And,
Um,
it's just the way I felt.
I gotta ask.
And one
I'm
of
just
those
gonna
things you have
ask.
to accept.
Yeah, you have to accept it, but it doesn't. You don't feel good about it. You know, and I would gladly still to this day give up my life to have my mother back, which is an oxymoron in itself because I wouldn't be there to have my mother back.
Yeah.
But you'd want to because I don't think she deserved what happened. I'm going to ask Teresa about this because you obviously knew my mom very well. She was your aunt. How did it hit you in that sense?
Um, that's hard.
It is. It is hard. If you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. We can move on to something else.
Honestly, I would say that my biggest thing was due to circumstances that I don't even know if I fully now understand or know that we never had the relationship that I would have liked to have.
There was a reason for that too, because that's actually my brother lies as well. Even though he is my brother, he didn't have the relationship that he always thought he was still going to be able to have. And he changed his, tune 100%. He did a 180 big time because he suddenly realized how important it is and how much you got to cherish the people in your life. At that time.
I think honestly in my situation, I don't know that it was my choice, and I didn't realize it was what the situation was until it was too late for me to do anything about it.
And it's never. I didn't think it was your choice, and I didn't mean anything along those lines. By the way, just so you know that, I always know there's circumstances surrounding a lot of things, and I don't even know all the circumstances, so that's understandable. So this definitely not a blame game or a choice game or anything like that. It's just something to look at that you don't know until that moment's gone. And there is often, this is where Teresa's right, when you don't see somebody, there's often so many reasons you're unaware of why that's not happening. And it's out of your control. And you don't find out till afterwards. So one of the things I would recommend to anybody is if you ever get that feeling, who cares what anyone else says? Reach out. Try. I didn't do it. I was just as guilty as she was, and probably guilty as a lot of people on here are watching right now, that we failed to do that moment because we hear things and we follow with what we hear or we're told or we're given advice on things. I want to go to some comments on there because that's really hard. I kept it together. I don't usually keep it together when I talk about that. So Jan's here said she had a friend long ago. She actually used to babysit her kids. We stayed connected into my adulthood, and she and her daughter even made a trip to Michigan to find she was in a nursing home and passed away there. And Jan also says, when I am with my kids, we talk about those that have passed, and we have learned from them and still apply their advice to this day.
Yes.
Exactly. It's important to also talk to your kids about that, and I'm very glad that you continue to do that and express it to them, because kids don't always understand either. There's not a really full concept of death. I mean, we spend most of kids, when they're younger, we spend our life telling them how everything continues on, and life is happy, and it's eternal happiness, and everything's great, and you'll see them later. We don't always all believe what we tell our kids, but it's good to talk to them so they understand what's happening. And sorry when she made that visit, your daughter did, that she had passed away, because that's terrible. I talked a lot just now. I'm sorry. I probably over-talked a bit. So, but I definitely want to hit on this because the pandemic did a lot to us. I probably wouldn't have even thought of doing this show if it was not for the pandemic, because I realize there's a lot of people in this situation that's not always because of death. They just can't go see them.
Yeah.
And what was that, Angela? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it was a while before I could come up to Michigan last year, like over the summer. And I had to be careful about who I went to see. I wanted to see more people than I did, but because of the pandemic and stuff, I couldn't really see everybody that I wanted to see.
And that's where a lot of people got stuck. Even some people that were cities away couldn't go see everybody that they wanted to see. Bill, how much separation did you really have to go through during the pandemic? I saw you shaking your head when I mentioned the pandemic. So how was that?
Oh, I did. It tipped over. It tipped over my wagon of life. Really, because I was okay. I'm an alcoholic, and I go to AA. All right, and I go to NA. But when the pandemic hit, I didn't have Zoom. I didn't have everybody's phone number to talk to, and I couldn't go to my meetings. And I'm not using that as an excuse to drink, but that's exactly what I did. I went out to the party store and started drinking because I didn't know what to do with myself. I'm alone now. What do I do? And I started to fall into what I would call a pity party, poor me, and that sometimes people tend to do that, and it played its havoc on me. But now, I have with Zoom, I have meetings I can go to. I still can't go to church, which I'd like to go to, but my daughter has laid stipulations that I cannot go to certain places because of her health, she doesn't want to get to COVID, and I have to respect that because I'm living under her roof.
Oh,
So,
understandable.
but I mean, I try to compensate for it. If I feel bad, I got numbers now. I call people, if I'm getting depressed or if I just want to say hello,
Right.
just call to say what you doing. It's
That's what
not
you
doesn't
gotta
have to be
take.
necessarily I have problems.
You gotta.
First one at Manual House, I didn't do that. I was like in a shut up, mode
Yeah.
because I didn't know anybody.
You got to take those steps, though. You have to take those steps to reach out and call to people, Bill. I think that's very important. I just want to let you know, Jan says I had your back, Bill. There's probably more to that. That's awesome. I want to go back to some of these comments before we continue the next ones. Ashley's here says whenever she would hear that our kids from her last job either killed themselves or were killed due to street life, it's hard to hear. One I'll never forget, and I'm still friends with her mother. One of the hardest deaths was losing kids. And it is. Losing your child, I think, is the hardest thing people can go through. Fortunately, my grandmother did go through it, but I don't know how many people here have or know people that have. But it is one of the hardest things. I couldn't imagine it.
I came very close.
How was that?
My oldest daughter, she was in the hospital for 3 months. They didn't think that she was going to survive.
So that's, yeah, I remember. I do.
Yeah.
I haven't seen her. She's doing good, I hope.
No, she is. She is. We actually have a good because of the pandemic. She spent more time with my mother and realized who my mother is, and it has actually brought us closer.
One thing I will actually say for the pandemic, among anything, is the fact that you are finding out the true people to bring closer.
Mm-hmm.
You
For
are
sure.
definitely discovering your friends that you can't often do
Yep.
in the big plethora of people that say they're your friend, but as you well know and I well know, they're not there when the time comes. They'll say they'll be there,
Yeah.
but when you call them, there's no response on that.
Mm-hmm.
Jan also says, when Grandma Betty passed, we never knew it till I heard from her grandson. There was no funeral, nothing. I never got to say goodbye or I love you. Uh, that that goes with me and my mother. That goes with Angela and your ex, and I think that goes with a lot of us out here to relate to that. Not my thing was, and at least in my case, and I do bring my mother up in loss. I've lost a lot of people. I've lost my fiance, best friends, all that, but
Mm-hmm.
my mother was the hardest one. And the biggest thing is remembering whether or not I ever told her I love you. The things that that run in your head are the hardest things to deal with. Because even though we know they knew, we want to say it. We
And
want to make
that's
sure.
actually what helps me because the last thing that I said to him was, I love you and I always will.
And a lot of people don't get that opportunity.
I was lucky enough.
to say that. But you know deep down you did anyway. Hi to Jamie. Good to have you here. Cole Orton on here says, would you say believing in God, religion, and afterlife is essential to finding peace? Does it provide a much needed crutch? I personally, when it comes to that thought, I think having faith in something is extremely important. I don't necessarily always think it's got to be a religion or God or afterlife or anything like that. I think having faith in something helps you get through the day to day. I used to be one of the people that was on the you're dead, you're dead. You're not going to see them, they're gone. I don't have a reason to really push forward if I don't think there's somehow, some way that I will be reunited in some fashion with those I love. So I think having some kind of faith in something, whatever you pick it is extremely important. What about the rest of you? Like Teresa or
Well,
Angela or Bill.
I grew up in church. I grew up in
Okay.
church, and I do believe in God. And my pastor, he said, Um, if you don't believe in some kind of afterlife, then what is the point of life? Just
In a
to
sense, I
live
think
and
that's
die.
true.
And it's kind of what I believe. And it does help to have faith, to
To
believe
believe
in,
in something that
like you
there
said,
is
to
a
believe in
chance.
something, right?
Yeah. Or it is a pointless existence.
Right.
Because what's there to follow with it? I mean, that's how
Right.
you'll. And you
Mhm.
may not always see that pointless existence early in your life, but as you get older and you do start to lose people in your life, you realize how important it is to see that
Mhm.
going forward. And you might be right, Colorton. It may be a crutch for some people, but what does a crutch do? It helps you out. It helps you get through things. So, that's actually a really good question that you had there. I personally think it's faith in something. I don't think it matters necessarily what it is, but I think faith is important. What about you, Teresa? How do you feel about that?
I also grew up in church my whole life, and my faith is really important to me. I have always been told that what drives people to end their life is the loss of hope. So I feel like having something, my personally for me it's God, but I don't um, try to impose my personal I guess thoughts on anyone. I would say though, definitely having hope in something, having hope in the afterlife, like you said, kind of gives you that reason to press on. Having hope for something in the future, to me, I would say yes. I would say that it's certainly an important factor. I don't know what I would have done honestly without my faith at various times in my life when it was really hard and I didn't know how I would make it.
But it gets
So
shaken. It gets shaken so easily,
Oh
too,
yeah, yeah, for
because you
for
sure.
have to
sure.
wonder how they got taken away. And finally, I'm going to ask on the same question because I really like this question. How do you feel about that, Bill?
Well, when I lost my faith in everything, I ended up in a rehab center having, well, first the hospital having them sew stitches in my wrist because I slit my wrist. Uh, I was in the world of no hope. All right. I was in a pit that I couldn't climb out of. And, I had to, emergency came here. My daughter called the police, and she came in. She saw me there. I had a half a pint or pint, and I was just drinking away, watching myself bleed. And I was at that point. I had no hope. I was in a dark tunnel, and and it's an awful place to be. And because I lost my faith in everything. I lost my faith in God. I was mad at God to be. I believe in God. All right. I find that a little bit of faith can move mountains. Really, I mean, in your life, it can help you get over things that you never thought you could get over, such as the death of a loved one, or loss of finances and stuff. And it also helps you to become a better person because you want to be better than what you were. And
And
you
I want to interrupt on that actually because there's another comment that somebody put on here that's very much. By the way, Courtney says he agrees fully. When he was younger, thought nothing of it, but as he grew up and matured, you begin to realize that it is important to have something to look for in life. But there's one person I have the most faith of in all, and Jamie's brought it up right here. Jamie says, I have faith in myself. And that's the most important thing you can have more than anything, to know that you're
Yeah.
going to get through stuff, to know that you will go on afterwards. I tell people a lot of times when they're getting in relationships, because a lot of people jump in for, as we talked before, that feeling of loneliness or being alone forever. So they'll jump into any relationship they can find. In order to succeed in a relationship, you must get it through your own damn fucking thick skull that you can survive without that person.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Once you know you can, you're not in that relationship because of fear of being alone. You're in it because you want everything that they have to offer and you want to offer everything of you to them. There is nothing about, I'm just here and this is the best I got, or I'm settling, or anything like that. For the rest of your fucking life, don't settle. But make sure you find the faith in yourself to go on. Make sure you find the love in yourself to go on. Make sure you see what everybody else sees in you and continue on. That's a great point, Jamie. Above anything else, you have to have faith in yourself, then work on faith in others and faith in more. Because you can also sacrifice your own existence if you have faith in an afterlife, but don't have faith in yourself to live through that
Yes.
to that point. Any thoughts on that?
It's hard.
Oh yeah, it's very
really
hard.
hard. It really is. Especially like I grew up listening to my father, and we've come very far past it, but all my life as a child my dad told me that I was worthless. And because of that, I have a very hard time talking to people, and I have very low self-esteem. So I guess being at the store and having all those people say hi to me all the time and stuff, it's an ego stroke. And it helps me because I
It's
have all these people and they see how depressed I got, and they embrace me, and they've told me the same thing that you've said. You have to have faith in yourself. And
yeah.
I'm learning, slowly, slowly trying to accept myself.
You know, when people question the ability to have faith in themselves, sometimes they have to look at the fact that they're fucking here. Through all the stuff we went through everything that challenged us that we thought we'd never make it through, we made it.
Yep.
So why not have faith in yourself? You know you can fucking do it. Without question. Jan says on here, a man I was involved with for 15 years, passive alcoholism. When we were driving to the funeral, I didn't understand how everyone was just going about their business. Everyone in public was going about their business. You mean just... I'm kind of a little confused as what you mean by that. Why? Does anybody understand that?
Like everybody, like outside of the funeral.
That weren't part of the funeral was going about their business.
Is
And if I'm interpreting right, and I'm not sure if I am, but if I'm interpreting it right, I feel the same way. Going to my mom's funeral, my fiance's funeral, and stuff, because it's my world, and it's
Right.
hard to imagine it's not theirs.
Right.
So if that's what you're going for, I find that equally difficult because
Yep.
it's not fair. I got to feel this pain and you don't. I'm selfish. I'm like,
It's you. The world
too.
stops.
Right. It is your world. So when you see
Yeah.
people doing that, it's almost unfair. It almost seems
Yeah.
unfair that you get to have this life and I've got to suffer. What did I ever do wrong?
Hmm.
And on that note, what did I do wrong? Let's go a little further. I'm a very lonely person. Most people would never ever guess this about me. Most people who know me and see me on a regular basis think that I've got everything fucking together. I'm
I
a
saw.
star.
I know more. I know better.
Yeah, well, shush. But they do, and the truth is, I really don't, and I never know why. And I feel that I am destined to remain alone. I do feel I become emotionally broken, but I also think I like it that way. There is a lot less hurt involved with it, and I am one of those people that believe creating happiness for many does outweigh creating happiness for one. What is your take on my feelings with that? I'm not the only one that feels that way sometimes. All right, good talk. Thank you for all helping me out there. That was great. I feel better. I'm moving on with everything. You guys are awesome.
Uh,
That's been a problem of mine.
Well,
Especially here. Everybody
that's
else
why we
needs
talk.
more.
I think-
I want everybody around me to be happy.
that's
I
well,
think
what-
to a certain point we could create our own heavens and our own hells. All right.
oh, believe me,
Really, I
I've
mean,
created them both.
Yeah.
I mean, there's things that I made worse and didn't have. I mean, or I looked at it in the worst way, and it wasn't really as bad as I perceived it. I was seeing it, and making a mountain out of a molehill. So I think that sometimes we tend to do that. We create our own hells, and then we ask why. What went wrong? But it comes, I think, with trying to understand yourself and be honest with yourself. You
That
have to
goes
be
back-
honest with yourself. If you're a butthead, you got to admit that. Well, I was at that time. I was a butthead. And acknowledge it. And just try to do better, try to learn from whatever happens in life, try to learn something from it, even if some of it doesn't make sense, you know, you just can't dwell on it though. You got to keep moving.
Oh, I can dwell on it. I'm a professional at dwelling on it. I totally can. But that goes back to the points that both Jamie made about having faith in yourself, and even Cole Orton said about having faith in something else. Is it the crutches that need and stuff like that? Those were really great points too. And as far as having faith in the future of the afterlife, if you make your own existing life right now a living hell, then why are you living? You have to go back and have that faith with yourself and know you're going to get through it. But how does one? I mean, what are the steps now? We talked about what we did just out of the boredom and being isolated and stuff. But when you come to situations like mine, or where you have been, Angela, and where you have been, Teresa, and I'm sure Bill has been there as well, that you just feel like there's nobody, because we seek companionship above all else. When you feel you've exhausted every relationship you're in, it's going to go downhill. If you find a good relationship, something's going to happen to destroy it. How do you pull that together? It's not like you're not going with the numbers. Statistically, it seems like it's going to happen. Teresa, you're kind of on cloud nine right now. So how did you pull through to this point?
Honestly, I was alone for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to be alone for a long time.
I think it's important to be alone for a period of time.
Okay, I was gonna correct myself. Not for a long time, but enough time. And what's enough for me? I mean, you and I have talked about this, that I don't necessarily subscribe to the norm of you should do it this way, in this order, in this time frame. So how long it takes for you is you know. But I think that being alone is important for a time. I am extremely empathic. So being around people is a lot for me sometimes. Like I have to be alone to recharge and to kind of like de-people.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, that does make sense.
But I had to be alone and learn to, and you kind of touched on this a few minutes ago, to learn to appreciate me and to see that, like, in my marriage, I was very not in control. Like, I wasn't in control of anything. To the point that I truly, when I first was going through my divorce, I didn't think I could make it on my own. And I had to teach myself that I could. So in teaching myself that I could be alone, like, I focused really on raising my children, getting my education, and my career. So, because for me, that was my healing. That was my, like, I had friends at that time a little, like, I can't say I never socialized, but socializing wasn't a priority.
Right.
What was a priority was getting me okay. And honestly, like, I am in a relationship now. We met 6 months ago, and we both have said, like, 6 months ago, we probably weren't ready for each other. So, like I said, that being alone, proving to myself I can do this. I can succeed. I can have a happy life on my own, because then I'm not looking for him to make my life happy. I'm looking to share my happiness with him. And there's a big difference. You want them to
be a part of your life, not be your life.
Right.
And it's the most important thing to remember. You touched on a little bit when you first started that. That was really important to get through those steps too. And learning to be alone and learning to be that you are worth it, basically. That you're a good person. And little things like cooking a full-fledged dinner for yourself. Not throwing a TV dinner in the freezer or having chicken nuggets or some shit like that. Mm-hmm. But actually going out and making yourself a nice... You start to appreciate what you do for yourself, and then you start to understand how other people can appreciate you as well.
Right.
And those are some of the things you said you did. Going to a movie, doing what you want. Start to realize your freedoms that you have. But we touched early on that you don't have to not have people around to be alone. Mm. So how many people have been around groups of people and yet they still feel alone on here? On the chat, too, how many people have been through that as well? Has that ever happened to you, Angela, Teresa, Bill?
Oh, yeah.
It's happened to me because I couldn't associate with people. I mean, I couldn't. It was trying to find a common. Sometimes it's hard to find a common ground when you're with a particular group of people, especially somebody who's really sophisticated and you're not. You know, that knows every doggone musician that was born and you don't. You know, and it's kind of hard to associate with people if you're from different lifestyles, different paths, different, you know, different environments and stuff. It's kind of hard because some people won't understand where you're coming from because they weren't there. They never were there. So they don't know what you're talking about, you know, and it can be hard to do that at times.
Yeah.
I find just listen when I'm doing that.
Most people that know me, first of all, they think I know everything. I'm very educated in everything I talk about. I'm pretty much always right in everything I say, and they hate me for it.
Yep.
I think that's genetic.
That is totally genetic, and they really do. But I mean, I know everything, and they'll always try to prove me wrong, and they can't. Whether it be a factual thing or an emotional thing, they can never prove me wrong. But the catch is, I'm only speaking with what I know. And I get in the same position that Bill is often, that he's talking about, is I'm a very shy wallflower. If I'm put in a situation that I don't feel I belong or I don't understand or relate to it, I just sit in the back and absorb.
Same.
And it's the best I can do. But I don't come off that way. People who know me well are like, oh, this guy knows everything. He'll solve your problem. I mean, but it's not the case. So I often, in these situations, I feel alone. I had a friend, you know me because I host DJ and karaoke and all that too, so I'm always out there with the public. But if a friend invites me over to his house at a party, I'm not the same person. I'm not in control of the situation. It's not my thing. And I still feel alone. And I'm surrounded by people. The only way I get out of that, and I guess it's kind of the faith in yourself, is to be in control of the situation. The entertainment, and that's what helps me get through it. We got a couple comments right now. First, Jan says, going back to that, may be cruel to say, but I think I could handle it better if it was their time. When a person has caused themselves with drugs, etc., it's harder because they gave up and paid the price. I actually agree, and it's not always because of drugs or anything like that, but it is a lot harder. I actually am kind of one of those people that has less sympathy for people who have died due to drugs and alcoholism, because most of the time, by that point, they've pushed themselves to that point, and they've been warned several times, and they've had all the advice. They've had people there. Not always the case, but a lot of times. As far as people who die prematurely or before their natural time that you would expect, those are the hardest ones for me to deal with. And those are the ones we always question. Because if somebody dies natural time, usually you have a good period of time prior to that death to get your closings and to get what you want to say, to give them their hug or anything, because you know it's coming. It's when you don't expect it that it tears your world apart. Al says all the time he can be around lots of friends, but then he feels like the only person in the room.
Oh, yeah.
And you nailed it. And I don't think they're not my friends at the same time, but I just don't feel I belong. And that feeling of belongingness is something we need that a lot of us, no matter how outward we seem, we don't feel that way. Going with Al's comment, being a lot of friends, similar to what I just asked Teresa, do you experience that?
Absolutely. I'm definitely, again, like I said, empath and actually an introvert, and none of my friends believe it.
Exactly. Nobody believes it about me.
It's so funny because I test classic introvert all the time, and I relate to that. But people think they don't understand what an introvert is as part of the thing. But I can definitely go and sit and observe people's behavior and watch them and look at interactions and not feel a part of the group and not
I'm entertained, but I don't.
Sure.
I feel like I'm watching TV in
Sure.
a sense.
I don't.
You know,
yeah, I
not
definitely I connect better in a smaller group. I can teach. Actually love to teach, but that's like kind of my forte, and it's kind of probably the same as you when you're DJing or hosting karaoke. That's my thing.
Yeah, and you own it. And that's why everybody has a hard time believing that you are an introverted person.
Right. But I really very much am. If I'm out of my element, in like in a professional setting in my field, yeah, I'll sit and talk to a bunch of people. I can own the room. I can get everyone's attention and get them going. But if it's in a situation like where I'm going to hang out with a large group of people I don't know, then I am more shy. And sometimes people in those situations look at me like, oh, well, like she's this, she thinks she's better than us, she's that. And it's like, no, I don't know you and I feel awkward and I
That's-
don't open myself up to everyone like that. So
I didn't think to bring that up, but that is one of the things I think people think about me in that situation is partly because I'm a star per se at my job and what I do, and because I've got a little fame behind me, is that I think these people look at me differently. I think they look at me like I'm better than them, or I think I'm better than them, you know, and that's what goes through my mind. And so
it's
I don't
weird
want to
though,
say
nothing could be
anything
further from the truth.
Right.
I
that I'm
definitely
better
don't
than
ever
people.
think I'm better.
Maybe I am.
No.
But
For
you think
myself,
that you think
for
that,
myself,
yeah.
I've never thought that I was better than anyone. Like honestly, I'm more critical of myself than I am of anybody else.
I'm gonna hit two more
Okay.
comments and then I'm gonna go backwards a little bit. What was that, Angela?
I said, so are you. You are your worst critic.
I am, and we all are our worst critics, and we forget that. I just put something up on MSV. Is pay attention to what people around you actually do and what they see with you, because it's important to see. You'll learn more about yourself based on what other people around you do and how they look when you enter a room. You'll learn a lot. I want to hit a few more comments on this, and then go backwards a little bit because I got another one from Cole Orton I want to address. I can feel I'm in a room, Jan says, trying to join the conversation, and no one hears me. And you do. You're like a fly on the wall. Nobody hears what you're saying. Nobody hears what you're doing or anything like that. Bill, you seem to have something to say on that.
Yeah, like I say, if I can't associate with somebody, like, okay, if somebody's talking sports, I got a group of people with me, they're all talking sports. I'm not into sports. Even though they're my friends, I don't get into the things they get into all the time. So then I feel like I'm excluded, okay? And I'm actually excluding myself.
You're
because
responsible for the exclusion.
Yeah, because if I really wanted to get into it, I'd start finding out some more stuff about sports, or try to relate to people.
Mhm.
And that's what it's called, reaching out. Sometimes you have
Right.
to reach out. If in order for somebody to grab your hand, you got to extend it. And I've had to learn that the hard way.
And she also says that she's a
So,
people person, and she has to have that. And that's me. I thrive off people. I need people. It's very important for my existence. I learned that pandemic-wise. Like, I realized the reason I got through my depression and my loneliness and my isolation was because of the people around me. It was from going to work and entertaining these huge crowds and stuff. When I lost that, I literally felt I lost everything, that I had nothing anymore. I didn't realize how much I took these people. I took advantage of them, or took them for granted. And I really did. They are my driving force through life. And I think a lot of us do that. I think a lot of us have these driving forces in our life, but we fail to acknowledge that it exists. Going to Gabe's comment right now. Gabe's on here, says, I'm never able to sit in public situations by myself. I'll wait in the car if I'm meeting someone at the bar, so I'm not there by myself. Precisely same way. Same way. Basically, I guess the way to say it is I don't feel like I belong in other people's public situations. I belong in mine. I don't feel I belong in theirs. And Gabe is also very introverted, but when I miss a human connection, it's a very strong feeling, and that's what I was going through the summer. Exactly, it's that human connection. But now we're going to go to Cole Orton, because this is one here. This actually has a lot to do with loneliness and stuff. What do you think about how technology has affected us all socially? We seem to be more connected than ever, but also more isolated than ever. You can go online, chat, and talk to people. When you go out in public, everyone is on their phones and devices. They no longer socialize face to face. More and more people have social and lonely issues as a result. Seems like before technology, things were a lot better socially, we all say here on this podcast. But you're absolutely, there's a little irony there, but
Right.
you're right. I want to leave the comment up. I'm only taking it down so we can see everybody else's face on there because it's a long one. But I have had a problem with social media for a long time. I am a technology geek. I absolutely love social media. I think it's great to be able to interact with everybody, but you lose that that personable connection. Even on this show, as we're talking to each other, we're having a great communication back and forth. It would be so different if we were around the same table. The
Yeah.
in-person connection is totally different because there's a lot of things you can read about people that they don't have to do anything. You just feel that. And I, being very much an empath like I am, there, Teresa, same thing.
Yeah.
You don't get that from that, and a lot of times people don't want to go on video. They just chat, and I hate chatting, texting, all that because there is no relay of emotion.
Right.
Yep.
There's emojis, but I'm fucking an old fart now. I don't even know what the emojis mean anymore. I see random shit. Like when Facebook first introduced that care one, when I first saw it on my phone, I'm like, why has this guy got a bloody lip? Like I thought somebody was saying it. The way it looked like he was bleeding out the mouth. I'm like, who just punched me for my sad story?
That's funny. I actually have, I've been saying this for a long time. I work in the field of mental health. And I feel like social media is such a fallacy because we think, and I love it too. Like
Yeah,
I do the social media thing, but we think we have, like, I've got all these friends, but do you? When is the last time you sat down and had coffee? And obviously, like, in like the whole pandemic world is very different. But even before that, it's like when have you had a cup of coffee with anyone? Like, are these people you interact with, or are they people that you like kind of added to a list and like they don't really like, do you do things with them? So I think that it gives people like they feel like, oh, I've got all these friends, but like their world is still really empty. And
Yeah.
I think that I think that it enables social anxiety. I think that it fosters and contributes to social, honestly, social ineptness. People don't know, and obviously I speak in general terms. I'm not talking about everyone, but people don't know how to socialize. It's
But,
easy to be behind a keyboard and ta-da-da-da-da-da, but you wouldn't talk to another person like that in face to face. You know,
This
you
is
wouldn't be
where
as
I'm torn.
aggressive face to face.
But this is where I'm torn too, because as much as I agree with everything you say, and that's how I feel about it too, it sucks that for some people, social media has helped them be more sociable because they're naturally, they're not outward people. They have a hard time in social situations long before social media was around.
Sure.
So it does so much good things, but I think it's pulling people who are social down in that sense.
I do agree with you on that as well. I do think that there's definitely good. I think people use it for a lot of really good, like this is an example of a thing that people use social media for that I think is really benefiting and positive. But I don't know, I just have some concerns with people thinking that social media equates to being social.
Yeah, it's not. It's not either. It's not in any way social. Well, no, it is social, but it's not the same kind.
Right.
And it's important. The internet goes down. People don't know what the fuck to do anymore.
Well, it helps
Jan, by
me
the way,
being
100%
down
agrees
here.
with you. Go ahead, Angela.
It
Yeah,
helps me being down here and having all my family and friends up there.
right. It's a step above a phone call, being able
Yeah.
to like video chat, really. So, but we had that before too. But the thing is, the difference is you've experienced life without social media. So when you come back up to meet your family, you're back in the mode of, oh my God, people around that I love, and you
Right.
just talk and you can enjoy it. Whereas people who are now growing up in a social media world are losing that capability.
Right. There's people 2 blocks down the road and you're talking on their phones.
Yeah.
Like, go to their house. Go see them.
Jan also says, like sitting around a table in uncomfortable silence, but go to Facebook and chat away. And I've noticed that a lot. I mean, like I go to restaurants now, and I've literally seen every person at every table looking at a device.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And that happens a lot. I actually want to go with what you said here, Teresa, on the Thousand Friends, and this actually goes with the birth and the start of Your Shoulder Voice. The actual event that started it is I had put a post up. If you ever watched the trailer or the intro show, you've heard about this 100%. But I had put a post up, and out of the thousands of friends on my Facebook list, one person reached out, and somebody I never thought would. One. Because having all those friends and everything like that means jack shit. You want that connection, you want that contact. But here's the important thing to remember when you're feeling like I was, where I was desperate and lonely. I made a choice to turn that energy into something else. Because no matter what, depression, love, hate, happiness, contentment are all forms of energy. And they're very important. You need to be able to learn to steer the energy in somewhere that helps you. And for me, creating Ear Shoulder Voice was what helped me. It let me get more interaction with people and get out there, and I realized that I wasn't alone or anything like that. And you need to find something to turn your energy to when you're feeling that way. For Teresa, there was crafts and artistic stuff that you did to get you through. You cooked, you went to movies and stuff like that. Obviously, pre-pandemic, fuck Corona. I hated it, fucked up. So, and Angela, you've been through that, and Bill, I'm sure you have too. But it's all energy.
I'm still going through it. I'm learning.
If you can be hurt, people say they're incapable of loving and stuff like that. Even like I said, I'm emotionally broken. And I do feel emotionally broken, but I don't feel it's necessarily a bad thing. Like, I feel it can still exist. I'm just done, like, thinking it's there prehand. Fuck that. You know, but if you feel disdain or hate or anything like that, that tells you your heart is capable of emotion.
Right.
You need to find things to turn that emotion to. You can't feel hate if you can't love. And you don't always know where it's going to come from. One of the biggest things you can do is stop looking for it. I'm going to go to Al, because Al hit on something really, really big, too, that I have a problem with social media-wise. Here's his dilemma. He says he has a very dark sense of humor, and it comes off as being dickish on social media. I love it, though. But when people meet me or have known me from the past, they know or see what I'm really like face-to-face. That's the main reason I dislike social media, because you prejudge people too fast and don't know what they're like and who you really are. When it comes to, like, dating and stuff, I still constantly am joking with people that your entire life, your existence, your past, everything you've ever experienced is a swipe away from somebody's world.
Yeah.
They'll never get to see that. And when I meet people, and I'm sure a lot of people on here agree, and a shitload of people probably in the chat agree, that when you meet people, you feel something. You instantly think you know more about them. You don't get that with social media. You get to learn about them. And the other thing is like I said, emotions don't come off right. I have one of our panelists on here I'm always joking with and stuff, and I have a very dark, rude, crude, definitely sexually geared sense of humor, without question.
Yeah.
And I say like the most outrageous stuff, and I'll do it through text or social media or something like that, and then I'll follow up like, wait, did you understand I was kidding? Did you know that this isn't real? Because the emotion is lost in it. But if you were talking to me face to face, you know exactly what I mean. You know it's a joke. Most of the time. There's been times that it isn't the same way. And that is the dilemma. Al's dilemma is very found. Because you can't. But yet if you're not on social media, you're losing ability to communicate with people, because it's the only way they fucking communicate.
I can relate to that too.
Yeah.
My sense of humor is different, and I talk like a book sometimes.
Yeah.
So, again, people look and think like, oh, she thinks she's smarter than us. No, that's just how I talk.
Genetics.
Genetics. But the same with like a dark sense of humor. Sometimes I'm crude. Sometimes like I feel like our sense of humor is really very much the same. But I get that. I get where people look at something that you say or that you post, and automatically they assume it's something that it's not.
Yeah, Gabe says reaching out on social media like that is complicated too, because you know it's out there to help, but sometimes they might not see it due to algorithms or being busy. That's the other thing, that social media has changed so much the way they do that. Yeah. I can't even answer. I don't see anything on social media. I'm handling 4-5 Facebook pages and businesses and my own account and my own business and stuff like that. So my feed's just flooded with random stuff. And I miss so much because the algorithm tells me who I should and should not hear from.
Yeah.
At certain times, and it makes you still feel like they don't care, and it's not always the case, and they're right. And that was the thing I tried to realize with my initial posts, but many did nicely thumb up my initial post about being depressed, so that was good. So they did something at least. But how many people here, especially you, Teresa, because you brought it up as well, use that darker sense of humor also in a defense mode? If you're the humor one, the darker one that hits that, it never gets hit to you. You're the smart one. You're the genius one. Nobody ever challenges me. I know that. When I started with this humor, it was not the case. But now nobody wants to fucking go up against me because I come up with everything. But I thrive for that. I like to
I
fight.
try really hard.
You do. You do. It's fair. But do you ever use that for like a defense? Does anybody use kind of the outward, even self-insulting sometimes? I do that too because my humor includes everybody. You do. How do you do it, Bill?
Well, because when I'm confronted, with something, sometimes that I don't want to deal with the fact that I did something that I really, can't believe I did it. I sometimes laugh at myself. I have to laugh at myself because instead of getting mad, or if I see it, if there's a situation that I don't really want to face, I put on the defense mechanism so I can avoid it. I start laughing at it. Somebody else is really serious about it, and here I am laughing my ass off. And they don't understand why I'm laughing. It's because I don't want to deal with it.
Exactly.
And that's not a positive thing. Okay, that's not positive reaction to have, but sometimes it happens with me, and sometimes I catch it, sometimes I don't.
I think it can be positive. It's just how you use it. If you're using it to escape, then maybe not. But if you're using it to cope, it can be. I don't think that it's always bad to use the joking defense, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah,
sometimes it's the way of coping with things.
I never realized I thought this, and I think over time I've kind of learned that I believe if people look to me for the humor, I will not be the butt of their humor unless I choose it. I will be the cause of it, and I can include myself, and I can do all that, and I can joke with everybody on an equal level, which people often hate. Doesn't matter who you are, but I'm your girlfriend. Fuck off. And Jan agrees with Bill. Says that Bill does do that a lot. Al says on here all the time, even when I get put down, I will laugh back and congratulate them on a great comeback. Al, how do you feel inside though? And that's one of the biggest things we do, and I do the same thing too. I'm hurting. I strip for a living. Those that don't know, that's part of my job. I do. And people love it, and they're entertained, and it's great. It hurts to know they're really laughing at me. And that's a hard thing to deal with inside. But on the outside, I own that shit. You never know. And I go along with the jokes, and I announce jokes on microphone and stuff like that. It is sometimes a hide for the pain. And Al, I'm curious, how does it really make you feel deep down, if you're willing to tell us? And Jan says Bill covers up his pain with laughter. Bill, do you cover up your pain with laughter?
Yes, I do at times, because it's my way of avoiding the situation, or not owning up to it. Maybe I just don't want to face it right now, so I'll laugh at it. Or I'll even laugh at my own mistakes instead of owning up to them. I like I say, it's a defense mechanism that I use. I don't use it intentionally. Sometimes it just pops out. It's just the way I am. It's one of my quirks, which I need to work on.
We don't always realize the defense mechanisms we do. We don't always realize a lot of the defense mechanisms we ourselves do. We look back and go, oh, that kind of makes sense. I think Ron Williams covers his pain up by making people laugh. Robin Williams. Okay, I was like, Robin. Comedians are the ones to watch out for.
Yes.
People like myself and like Teresa, like everybody out there, if those people always make you laugh all the time and they're always happy and things are great, they need you. Mm-hmm. For one reason or another, they need you. They need your company. They need your companionship. They need the attention. Yes, there is nothing wrong with wanting attention when you feel you have none on you, because you spend your life giving others attention. Spend time and talk to them. It's important. Never trust somebody to have everything together because they're so funny. Comedians, again, it's a way to turn energy into something that makes others happy.
Can I make a point?
No.
Okay.
So just kidding. Go ahead, Teresa.
So what you guys do is really common. And I've done it before too. I shouldn't even say what you guys do. It's really common to do that. It's actually kind of a form of self-injurious behavior. When people engage in self-injurious behavior, they do it because then they control the pain, so other people can't control it. So we do that to ourselves because if I'm making a joke about myself, I control how much it hurts.
Well, that was my point initially when I said, as long as I'm looked to for the humor, I will not be the butt of the humor.
Oh
You
my
know,
goodness.
I'm controlling whether or not I'm making fun, and I'm knowing the limit that I can take.
Right.
There's
Right.
no going over that.
But it's still self-injurious.
It is, and it's not good, and it's not healthy. But there are some times that it can help you get through things. Just never believe your own humor, and some of us fall into that trap. We get so used to making fun of ourselves or saying things like that we fall into the trap and believe it ourselves. That leads to that depression and isolation. We've got a few more comments to hit through here, and we're almost done with the show at this point, even though this is a great show right now. Gabe says, I think the art of self-deprecation is a good way to keep bullies and trolls away most of the time. And Teresa hit on that, is that it's not always a health thing too, but it does. When I was a kid in school, I used it so people would leave me the fuck alone. I pretty much made myself out to be out. I was a terrible kid. I really was. And just, I hated myself. Things were terrible. And I had no reason family-wise. My mom was a saint. She loved me. My family loved me. I have no reason, but I hated myself. And I used to make so much fun of myself that I just wanted people to leave me alone and think that I was the weird kid, and I was good with that. Then I realized, that I'm actually fucking amazing. And there was no reason to do that. But I know that feeling, and it was a way to keep bullies and trolls away and stuff like that most of the time. Self-deprecation, at least you're hurting in the group. It's not the group hurting you. And that's how it makes you feel better. Jan, Sheena's here now. Sheena is Jan's daughter, and she's happy. And say hi to everybody. I think she just did. Moving on. Hi to everyone. There we go. And now back to Cole Orton. I love Cole Orton, though. He's given some really good questions for this. Cole Orton says, everything being online now also affects trying to find a partner. Gone are the days of random meeting up with people, and this is what I meant by the swipe away. Seeing if you can find your future partner, it becomes a right game, and one that costs too. And if you don't look like a model, the search is going to be a lot harder. I'm sure Bill was quite the Adonis back in his day, picking up all the ladies. Bill, were you an Adonis back in the day? I just have to know. Were you the Adonis?
Yeah.
Sheena might disagree.
No. I was Joe Average.
I will say this, and I'm going to address this directly because that was actually hard I actually did get a little tears welling up in there. Social media and online dating kind of put me in my place as the kind of person I am. It made me realize that everything I used to think was beautiful is not. It made me see that, and wrongfully, it made me see that. Do not get me wrong. But when you realize that your life is being swiped away because you don't look that model, you don't look that perfect, there's only so many times that can happen. The only time, so many times you can see 0 in that message box. So many times you can never see you've got a match or whatever it happens to be, whatever app you're using. Most of them suck, but just fuck apps. But honestly, it hurts, and it hurts extremely deep. And I've always considered myself to be a good-looking guy. I've never thought I wasn't. I may be a big guy, but I never thought I was an ugly man. That puts people in their place, and it can tear them down very much. I want everybody out there to think about this who's looking at online dating. Every single person that meets me, even for 1 second, loves me. I don't have anybody that I can count in my life that has met me and not liked me because of the kind of person I am. I hung on to that. I moved forward with that. This app shit, I realized you're not the great looking person you thought you were. And I should never have thought that. And nobody out there should ever think that about themselves, because everybody inside is an amazing human being that deserves to be loved by somebody else. You think you can just swipe somebody away. You're not swiping a picture. You're swiping a person out of your life that could possibly make it one of the best lives you could have in your future. The online dating is ridiculous, Cole Orton. This is the first time I've heard from you on this show, and fuck you for making me cry. Okay, so that's all I gotta say. Okay,
But also, thank you for all your comments.
thank you so much. Actually, it's those kind of things that I actually look for. It does that. I didn't even want to bring that up because I actually thought about that before the show, and I wasn't going to bring it up because it hits so deep. Who else? Anybody else does that really hit deep like that? That has tried the online dating?
I will say, for maybe in a little different way in my case, definitely from a female perspective, sometimes I would get a lot of attention, but it was like the kind of like degrading attention. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like not someone trying to get to know you, or not someone who maybe whatever, you said something in your profile that sparked their interest, but it was like the comments that were made were really degrading. Like, you're talking to a person. Like, I had someone say to me something about, well, like, what do you expect from someone who grew up there? And I was like, oh, well, I have a master's degree and, I'm educated. I have a great career. So guess you don't realize, like, I'm a human being and that hurt my feelings. And I think that, again, going back to that, using the social media outlet, and those apps kind of are under the same category to me. You feel like you can say whatever you want, like you forget that there's a person, like there's a person you're talking to, and it hurts when you say something that, when you just make some kind of a sexual comment and it's like, okay, well, I'm a human being.
Yeah.
No, I'm not a piece of garbage that you can talk to anyway and then discard.
I appreciate that point of view a lot because as a guy, I often think that women have it easier. Being that it is a meat market half the time, no, I'm really serious about this, and I know it sounds weird because they get hurt more. I'm not going to say that, okay? But as far as getting the attention aspect that Teresa was talking about, I think they get it more because more people prey on that. More people can say what they want to women. They don't often... Guys, I always thought got swiped away, but I never really thought about the way Teresa just put it. That it's equally degrading and equally hurtful.
Yeah.
And harmful at the same time. Gabe agrees with you, Cole Orton, by the way. Oops, sorry. Keith, I still don't like me about 70% of the time. That's because you're fucking stupid. And the reason I'm saying you're stupid is because you are unable to see what everybody around you sees. Mm-hmm. You're being, stupid is the wrong word, ignorant. And I am equally guilty of being this ignorant. And I don't mean it to be mean to you in any way. But you have to look at the impact you make on other people's lives. Look at the impact you make on your soon-to-be husband's life. Look at the impact you make on your mom's life. Look how they're happy to see you and they want you in their life. Your mom talks about you all the fucking time because she loves you so much. And you've got other people out there too. You have to start seeing what they see. You have to look into what they see. That, like I said, I'm driven off my crowd and my people. And they help me to see what it is that makes me such... I do consider myself a great person. Even though I don't like myself sometimes, I consider myself a great person. And it's because of people like even Angela. Angela has no idea the effect she had on my life in making me see me as a better person.
You too.
And she had a lot too. Teresa has no idea in the last year how much I have appreciated getting to talk to her. But you have to start seeing why. Why are people smiling when they're around you? Even if they're not saying anything, why are they smiling? Because you're impacting them, and only a good-hearted person and a good person can do that, Sheena. What do you say to who else got something to say to talk about with Sheena's thing? Even though she directed it at me, I'm directing it to you.
well, I don't know her, but I would say I'm a little bit nicer than my cousin. So I'm going to say,
They don't pay me to be nice.
I'm going to say maybe blind is a better word. You're blind to who you really are.
Miss
And-
Teresa with a master's degree picks better vocabulary. All right.
Sometimes I make sugar cookies for people, but it helps. Different perspective helps. No, but seriously, I think that sometimes we're blind to who we are and the great things that we can contribute. And it's sometimes because of messages that other people gave us. I did an activity one time where I literally wrote down every negative message that somebody gave me, and the person who gave me, my mentor who gave me this assignment, then made me refute every single message that someone gave me.
That's a good exercise.
I like
It was
that.
really great. It was really, really great because it made me see that person, it was specifically from one person, but it made me see that the things that were said to me by that person were a reflection of them and not who I was, because most of the things were very, very clearly not true. But it's easy for us to take on negative messages that people give us about ourselves and take those and think I'm worthless because this person left me or that person treated me poorly, instead of looking at ourselves from a little bit more of an objective standpoint and saying like, okay, but these are the things I do. This is the kind of friend I am. This is the kind of mom I am. So I think that, honestly, that was a life-changing assignment that I got. And it really helped change. I've done like positive affirmations and all these other kinds of things where I worked on myself and understanding my self-worth and our worth. And I can't say that I, still always get it. Like, it's something I still sometimes struggle with, but looking at yourself, being present in the moment and seeing how people interact with you, seeing how people react to you. Like Keith said, when he walks into a room, people smile. You have to be present in those moments to recognize that and to appreciate, like, wow, these people are smiling because I'm here. People enjoy spending time with me. People have positive things to say about me. And it's, for whatever reason, it's much easier for us to accept and believe those negative messages that we've been told rather than the positive things about ourselves. So that's my 2 cents.
No, your 2 cents is worth, $2 million. I like that. That's actually, that's amazing. And I've never actually heard of somebody having to do that. I think that's an exercise everybody should probably practice. My key to it was always literally putting myself in their shoes. And I don't mean putting myself like walking in their shoes, but realizing that the thought process that goes into that insult is zero. There is nothing. They don't know you. It's just words they decide to dispute. And I am much better of a person to let somebody's random ass words, usually because of their own problems, affect me. Because they don't know anything, and I do. And it's their loss, and they're equally miserable, and they're choosing to take that direction with it. It's not worth it. It's not worth believing, because there's nothing put into it. When someone tells you to do a good job, they usually go into detail of how you did that good job. They explain how they're appreciated. When someone insults you, there's no thought process behind it.
Right.
It's there to make you feel bad, and you're letting the asshole win. And as bad as that sounds like a parental thing to say, your parents say that to you all the time, you are letting the asshole win. Who took nothing but saw some funny word somewhere and doesn't know how to use it and decided to use it against you. Angela, you were going to say something.
Yeah, actually the guy that stole all that money from me, he sent me some pretty nasty messages through Facebook, and I think some pretty horrible things. I'm ugly and disgusting, and nobody likes me. I'm a horrible mother, that I should just jump off a bridge and kill myself. Just the most horrible things that anybody could ever say. He said it all. And for about a day, I curled up in a little ball and I let that shit just get to me.
You can't.
And then I woke up the next day and I said, and I went to work and I work with truck drivers. And okay, I hear it all the time that I have a great ass, like every day. But
You do have an amazing ass, Angela.
thank you. um, but it's not just that. It's there's 7 of us in my office, and I have one certain site. And these drivers are always like, we like you the best. When we know that you're at the site, that's where we want to load our trucks. And I'm like, you know what? He's wrong. And this is actually like started to motivate me. It started to make me feel better about myself.
It all goes back to that self-worth and realizing of being happy and having faith and accepting yourself. It all goes back to that. And you need to take the steps, whether it's the steps I take, the steps that Teresa pointed out, which is fucking great.
Which I love that idea. Yeah.
Or I do too. Or what you did, Angela, or what Bill does, or anything like that. Those steps, you have to start taking them. The world is wrong. People are wrong. They don't know you. We've got a lot of comments to get through. We are almost done here. I want to say Jan says that found Bill and got another person to give my heart to and help in life. Give your heat to, could be too. We're back to the dating app. I don't know. Sheena says online dating is all about booty call and face value. That's one thing to remember too, because really it is. That's what the apps are for. Don't take it as personally as I did, and a lot of us probably have at some point in our life. They're just about somebody who wants to fucking leave you. And if you're a good person with a good heart, you don't want that anyway.
Right.
You want somebody to be there in the morning. That just sucks when you don't look a certain way. And that's true. But I also discovered I may be a big guy. There's guys, there's girls, there's everybody that likes big people. There's some that hate skinny people. There's some that love blonde hair or red hair or dark hair and that hate it. People have preferences. And you have to start to accept I wouldn't want somebody with me who didn't see me for what I was. So if you only see an outer shell, fuck off. Jan says Sheena is awesome, has a big heart like me. Had to throw yourself in there, Jan. That's right. Sheena does have a very big heart. And always remember, like Sheena, you're going to be married soon. You found somebody that appreciates that, and it's time to realize what they appreciate in you. That's the person you want. That's the person you need in your life, who appreciates you for what you are. Gabe says, with the apps, it's like the Bachelor app. They just cater to the best filtered appearance, not personality. Tinder does that too now. I don't use Tinder, but I've been on it a couple times. I'm like, I can totally see what it is. They're all fake pictures. It's all an algorithm for the best looking thing to get out there.
And you can also be whoever you want to be.
That's the other thing. Most of the time, the person you're talking to or is insulting you isn't even
who you're actually talking to.
Yeah, it's some fat guy in his basement on his computer doing a podcast. So, but no, it's a total scam. I'm surprised anyone can find happiness through there. There are rare exceptions, but actually, the acceptance rate on that compared to going out in person and meeting somebody is so minuscule. It really is. So it's not even worth the time to put your heart into those apps or anything like that. You can try, but be ready for the hurt and know you are better than what they're going to fling at you. Sheena says, you're going to make me cry. I know I'm a good person, but I don't see the attraction. I guess it's two different things. Being a good person and being attracted to others is two different things. But I'll tell you, anybody that loves you is going to find every physical feature about you attractive.
That's true.
That's part of the love. If they don't love you. Because we're all fucking different. And honestly, human beings are fucking ugly creatures. You look at the other creatures on the fucking planet and how, like, lions, majestic lions, and, you know, even elephants or anything, they're beautiful creatures, cats and dogs. We're skinless lumps of meat around bones or hairless lumps of meat. We're really not beautiful in the species, but we find each other attractive. It's all in what you see. And when you love them, every feature is beautiful.
Quick comment on that. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm so sorry.
No, actually, I want you to. Go ahead.
So someone told me this one time, and I was like, oh. So they were saying that, like, when you're talking about preference. So, like, a lot of people love peaches. Peaches are delicious, they're juicy, whatever. But if you hate peaches, it doesn't matter if I have the most amazing peach cobbler. You're not going to like it because you don't like peaches.
Ex-
So that helps me. That actually helped me a lot. Like, it helped me to like think in terms of like, okay, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. That's fine.
Mhm.
But the person who I'm sharing my life with right now truly just loves everything I hate about myself.
Yeah, and that's what you're going to discover. And you're right. That peach analogy is fantastic. Again, you're the queen of this right now. You're coming up with some of the best solutions and things, but that's fantastic. That whole peach analogy, because you're not going to make them like it. If you don't like, for me, if you don't like fat guys or blonde haired guys, you're not going to suddenly like fat guys. You may love me and find me attractive in those ways, but you're not going to change who you truly are. And ultimately, that can lead to the demise of your relationship. Never change for somebody. Never try to get them to like you for anything else than what they already do. That's very important. Al says he loves himself 100% of the time. Some call it being narcissistic. I call it being awesome. Me too. And that is something that changed over time. I do. I love myself now. I didn't used to way back when, but it just kind of grew on me, and people around me help with that. Jan says she's in such a better place in her life. Her husband has tried to bring me down for years, but no more. She knows who she is. Good for you, Jan, because you have to. Don't let people bring you down, even if it's your husband, because maybe it's not the right match, and that's because he is a miserable mom.
He is miserable, Mom.
Oh, he is miserable, Mom. Thank you. See, I can't read half the time. All right. Sheena also says, thank you very much for the words you said after I did to her comment to me, Teresa. Cole Orton says, I see you have a dog behind you. We lost Bill. Really our man's best friend. Bonsai, where'd you go? You were actually being called out. Yeah, Bonsai's my baby. And I want to add something with that. Pets. If you feel alone and you are extremely alone and you can handle pets, some of us are allergic to cats, I know that, but if you can handle pets or something like that, they're a great solution. Companionship, they cure loneliness big time. They're extremely helpful, so pets is a good option.
My dog, the dog that I have now is actually the ex that died. It's his dog, and his mom was taking care of her for a while, and after he passed, she gave her to me. This, to help me get through it and stuff. And she has become like my best friend in the world. She's so good.
Pets can turn your life around. I mean, I gotta say, I got Shenzi, and you probably didn't see her, but on certain shows, you'll see them fighting Cole Orton. But yeah, they will. They're always behind me. They helped bring me and pull me out because pets are loyal. Dogs, especially, are so loyal. And they love you truly for who you are. They don't have the ability to swipe you away. It doesn't matter who you are. They love you. They don't judge you on your looks at all. That's good, Cole Orton. I like that. I'll get back to your other comment in a second. Sheena, I got very, very lucky to have Jay. Hi, say hi to Cole Orton. Come here, Bonsai. There's Bonsai. All right. She says, I'm very lucky to have Jay as he rips my headphones out. Now you can get down. Even luckier that even after 15 years split, he still wanted me with all my physical changes. He said it's not about the physical for him. It's about what is inside. The rest just follows. And that is love right there.
Yes.
That is what we all. And you love him so damn much. Love yourself the same. Because there's a reason he still loves you regardless of physical changes. That is love. See those things inside of you. And I can guarantee he finds every physical change beautiful. And Cole Orton says regarding pets, the only problem with pets is they hit you hard when they go double-edged sword, sadly.
Yeah.
Christmas of the year before, I had lost my dog that I had, Butler, for 15 years. Yeah. So I lost him, and and sadly, we go through those deaths a lot more in our life because they don't have the lifespan we do. But you found true love, and you give something a beautiful reason to exist, and they love you for it. Every detail, everything. Pets are good for that. Whatever you gotta do, whatever you find, just know that you are number one. And I think that's something that a lot of us forget. And we will be happy, and we will go on. Loneliness is very strange. It's something a lot of us don't understand, something a lot of us don't see, but we feel it constantly every day. It doesn't matter how many people around us, it doesn't matter how well off we appear. We hurt inside, and it's natural, and you're not alone in it. I can guarantee everybody watching this show, who's going to watch it in the future or anything, has felt at some point like they were the only, that they didn't matter, and that life was not going to go forward. It was not going to continue. I can guarantee most of those people know that all the friends around them and all the people they have think they've got it all together, and deep down they're hurting. We're all lonely, but we don't have to be. Maybe we can't change it for ourselves, but we can change it for others. And if you change it for others, and you reach out to somebody, and you ask how you're doing and how your day's been going and what's been going on, you're going to find that you're going to change the world around you. When you change the world around you, you think better of yourself. When you think better of yourself, you start to love yourself. When you love yourself, you start to be able to help more people, and you start to get more people in your life. It is a cycle, and it is one of those cycles that you should follow. There's nothing wrong with you. No matter what anybody says, there's nothing wrong with you. You're amazing. You're fantastic. Everything you can do, everything you give. If you're unsure, like I said, walk into that room and you look at those smiles around you. They're smiling because you are a fucking amazing person. I don't want you to ever forget it. You are good at it. Your heart is strong. You are great. And just because you haven't found what you're looking for yet doesn't mean you won't. Stay strong and stay positive and be happy. Today's show has been The Art of Being Alone, and it is an art form. It is something you have to learn. It's something you have to do, and it's something you've got to be creative with. But I promise you, it gets better. No matter how bad it seems, it does get better. Coming up on our next one, we do not have a open forum Sunday this week because it is Easter, so I want to wish everybody out there a very happy Easter. Open forums will return the following Sunday. Our next topic coming up next Wednesday is growing up gay. You'll never guess what that topic's about. Do I have to explain it? Nope. We're gonna have actual panelists on here. Some are gay, some are lesbian, bi, etc. And they're all going to talk about the situation that sometimes you don't realize what these people go through and the harm that you can do to them, especially when you're surrounded by people that tell you it's wrong all the time. We're going to bring those people out here to talk about it. So that should be a really good show as well. Don't forget, you can always call into the show going to earshouldervoice.com/join. Don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe to Ear Shoulder Voice on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We're on all those. Live chat during the show when you can, but that's not the only time you can live chat. You can contact us anytime through our Facebook page at earshouldervoice.com, or you can even do it anonymously by going through our website and messaging us through that. And we will talk to you live in real time. If you have anything you want to discuss, anything you need, or you just want to get something off of your chest, we're here for you. We want to be here for you. And if we don't get you right away, trust me, we will. I want to thank everybody for being here. Angela, first show, great job. Loved having you on. You've been through a lot. Inside, I know, we see you sometimes in the chat, so I was glad to have you join us for this. So you always are. A lot of things people don't realize, and I think that goes for most people on here. They don't realize what we all go through on a regular basis and how we're often feeling inside. I'm glad you were able to bring some of that for the forefront. I'm very sorry you lost your boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, to be future. It can be really hard and difficult to go through. I want to thank you for talking about that with us, because there's a lot of people in that situation that don't know where to turn, and you can be an inspiration for them. So thank you. Teresa. Oh, Teresa, just you come up with better shit than I do. I don't know if I like that so much. I don't like to be outshined, but you're amazing. Some of the things you say, some of the techniques you use are fantastic. I can't thank you enough for bringing them on this show. I am never going to forget that one that I can't remember that you talked about. No, I'm just kidding. I'm never going to forget the rebuttal one of the negative facts about you, because I've never heard of that exercise in my life. And that is probably one of the most powerful things I think that could help anybody out there who's feeling that way. So thank you for that and everything else you said. And definitely for putting in your 2 million cents.
Absolutely. It was great to be here. Thank you so much.
Bill, you're one of the surprises. I think it runs in the name Bill, honestly, with the people we've had on here. you've been through a lot and you've gotten through your struggle with, like you said, your alcoholism, your family, your divorces, and everything. You've obviously felt alone so much in your life. You're not alone in
Yeah.
that. There's a lot of people out there in that same situation, and you are an inspiration to them as well. Because you're
Yeah,
still
I used to
going
think
on.
I was unique, but I'm not.
No, that's where you're wrong. You are not unique in the emotions you may feel. You are 100% unique compared to anybody that's standing next to you. Find that within yourself, and everybody out there, find it within yourself. It's very important. Thank you, everybody, for being here on Ear Shoulder Voice. We hope you'll join us again on Wednesday. Have a very happy Easter. I want you all to have a great night. Take care.
You
and bye.
too.
Well, yeah. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey guys, Keith Lippin here for Ear Shoulder Voice. While you're here, why don't you like, share, subscribe, and follow so you can be notified of all our new broadcasts that we're bringing to you live every week and live chat during the show. You can also head on over to www.earshouldervoice.com, find out more information, suggest topics you'd like to see our panel discuss, and even apply to be a guest panelist yourself. I did not expect that to be so heart-wrenching, but it was. They left. Teresa and Bill left.
Yeah.
They were quick on that. Thank you, by the way, Courtney. I appreciate that. I try. Believe me, though, if you know me in person, I'm not always quite the gentleman you think I am. But I do try. I was like, gentleman's
Most of the
overrated.
time.
You were great tonight, Angela. Did you have fun on it?
I did. I really enjoyed being.
That really, it hit me a lot harder than I thought I would. I didn't
Me
get
too.
to half the stuff I wanted to talk about, and I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. That was beautiful. Well, I was glad to have you here tonight. Oh my God.
I was happy to be here.
Aside from my dog ripping out my headphones because I had to show him off to Cole Orton.
Oops.
Now I got Shenzi back there. She's good. No, I do miss you. It's really good to see you. I love when you're in the chat, though. So did you enjoy your drink? You get to drink at least on here. Isn't that nice?
Yeah. Yep.
Makes it relaxing by the end. I learned my lesson, though. Don't do it too much. Because there has been the occasional show where I watch the playback and I don't come off like I think I do. But at the end, I'm like, I'm getting buzzed here. I better be careful. So I like limit myself to one glass. I try to for the most part, unless it runs really long. It scares me. But it does. It helps relax you, though, because you got to talk about some deep stuff. I didn't think this was going to go as deep as it did, but it was nice. It was nice. You were really good.
It was. Thank you.
Hope you'll join us on some other shows. Maybe you'll see something else coming up.
Yeah.
If you've got nothing going, they're not always deep. Some are happy, some are fun. But you got to have the rest in there too, because without it, it's not real. And one thing I always want to do is be real with this stuff.
Yeah.
Because we ain't alone, and I miss you to death, and I hope I actually get to see you in person sometime soon. If hopefully we'll make a trip
I
up to
told you
Michigan.
I will make it happen this summer.
I know, because you'll be up here,
I'm looking for it.
and I will definitely look forward to it. You are awesome.